told you I wanted to tell you the story of another paralyzed person that Jesus heals. But this one comes with a twist. And the twist is a question. A question that on the surface is a little strange, at worst offensive. The question is this: do you really want to get well? Not just physically, but do you want to get well spiritually, emotionally, relationally? Do you really want to become functional again? You may be familiar with this story. It's in John's Gospel, the 5th chapter. Turn to it if you have your Bibles. John chapter 5. Beginning in the first verse, where we will hear Jesus, in the 6th verse, ask that question to someone who is sick, been sick for a very long time. Verse 1 establishes the fact that Jesus is in Jerusalem now during the Feast of the Jews. That just kind of sets the scene. Verse 2 says this: Now there is in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos or porches for shade. Verse 3, in these porticos lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered. So it's quite a scene, lots of people, everybody there is sick. Notice now at the end of verse 3, in my Bible, some of yours have this as well, all through verse 4, a parentheses or brackets. Now some of your Bibles don't even have this part. That's because the best manuscripts, this little piece here in the end of verse 3 through verse 4 is not even in them. Most modern manuscripts don't have it at all. If you keep reading from the NIV, this part isn't even in there. Because what we have here, and I don't want to get lost in the technicality of this, is an addition by a scribe inserted years after the original, who's actually trying to help by explaining what the people believed about this pool. And what they believed is this, verse 4, that an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first got into the water, after the stirring of the water was stirred up, stepped in, was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. Now in my Bible that's bracketed, in some of your Bibles that verse isn't even in there. What they believed, let me just kind of break that down, was that from time to time an angel would stir the waters. Whoever got in first after the stirring was healed. Okay? Problem is that wasn't true, and it didn't work. Fact is, the waters were stirred by underground streams that fed the pool. So from time to time, the waters would indeed stir. Air bubbles from underground streams would appear, and maybe somebody sometime had actually been healed there. It's even possible that the waters had some healing capacity, like hot springs do that kind of thing. But this thing about an angel wasn't true. It wasn't that they lied. They just didn't know about underground streams that can stir water, and so the story spread as fact. And this thing was added by scribes trying to explain to people what people did believe. And they did believe this about this place. It spread as fact, and so people came. Some out of what I'm sure they thought was faith. Others out of a hopeless kind of desperation. They knew of no other place to go. Maybe even the comfort of being around other sick people who were just like them. Like a huge watering hole that had dried up in the middle of the desert. They came, but instead of thirsty animals, it was a multitude of sick, blind, lame, and withered people. Not a very happy place. Now, among the many, the multitude, there would be one. A certain man, he's called in verse 5, who had been in his sickness for 38 years. Well, I'm not laughing at that. It's just he's been there a long time. Now, we don't know if he's been going to the pool for 38 years, but he'd been sick that long. By now, a fixture at the pool where nobody was being healed. Verse 6. So when Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that he had already been there a long time, in that same condition with no change whatsoever. And so he said to him something that he didn't say to anybody else that I can recall that he ever healed before. And it was this question: do you want to get well? In fact, in the Greek, it's do you wish to get well? The word wish, emphatic. Do you really want, do you strongly desire to get well? Now, at best, it's a strange question. At worst, it's an offensive question. Because, I mean, what do you think of doing here at the pool if I don't want to get well? The question: do you really want to become functional again? Do you really want to break those addictions? Do you really want to change those patterns, heal that marriage, become a different kind of person, have a different kind of life? Or would you, and this is mean, or would you rather just lay there? in the same way you have for a very long time by a pool that doesn't help, with all your explanations and all your excuses and people to blame. It really is an offensive question. But it's precisely the question Jesus asks right here. Sick man's response is significant, I think. Now, I may be picky, but I hear in his response excuses and explanations to what is actually a very straightforward question. The answer would be a yes or a no. Yes or no. Do you want to be healed? No. Do you want to be healed? Yes. Verse 7, the sick man answered and said to him, Sir, you don't understand. I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. Water, by the way, that doesn't heal even if it is stirred up. My problem is that no one will help me. And even when I try to get in the pool, I'm just not fast enough. I'm sick, you know. Verse 7. So while I'm coming to the pool, another steps down before me. Now what I hear in this, and I may be being mean here, but I don't think I am, in his answer is yes, but, to Jesus' question. Yes, I want to be healed, but no one will put me in the pool. No one cares about me. It's a callous world. Yes, I want to be healed, but my parents abused me. My spouse wounded me and won't listen to me. My kids abandoned me, don't appreciate me. The government screwed me. The church failed me. My boss fired me. On top of that, people keep cutting in front of me, verse 7. And you expect me to be functional? A contributing member of society, my family, my marriage, my church? How dare you ask that question? Of course I want to be healed. But no one will put me in the pool. Verse 8, Jesus' response is fascinating to me. And Jesus said to him, arise. The NIV says, get up. Now, if you read those words, get up, arise, as if they were the magic words that Jesus says when he heals people, like abracadabra, arise, take up your bed and walk, then you're going to miss this. Because what I hear Jesus saying here is something that no one has thought to or had the guts to say to this guy in 38 years of coming to the pool. Get up. Get up? Don't you know I'm sick? You can't say that to a sick person. Get up, take up your pallet, and walk. To take up your pallet here is powerfully symbolic language, in my view, that speaks to, among other things, taking responsibility for your own life, for your own lack of function, addiction, rage, codependence, whatever. Now, if I'm right about this, then it helps to explain, at least in part, why some may not want to be healed. What do you mean? Well, because here's one downside for this guy of being healed, who's been coming to the pool for 38 years, being carried, no doubt, to the pool by other people for 38 years. One of the downsides of having to take up your own pallet is you're going to have to carry your own pallet. I mean, if this guy gets healed, think about it. This could be really bad for him. He'll have to actually get a job. He'll have to provide for himself, feed himself, and he may not want that. Now, why I'm saying this, I was so compassionate to the paralytic in the first story. He's kind of mean. He's kind of mean. I hope he never talks to me. By the way, if you can't tell, I love this story. Because I run into many people in my church, just around, who view healing, particularly supernatural healing, as being only like a magic wand. Now, again, there are ways God just goes, pow! But it is not only a magic wand, hocus pocus thing. Many view it that way. And so we go to church hoping the waters will stir, and the worship is great, and the sermon is stirring. And if they are, we go forward at the end. We run for the pool. And some people, and here's the deal, I'm not saying don't do that. It's like I got to keep qualifying this. I'm not saying don't run forward, don't go to church, don't wait for the waters to stir. But the problem is, some people have been doing that for 38 years, and guess what? No change. None.